Partners in Ministry, a presentation of Josiah White's Quakerdale Foundation, dedicated to growing ministry support networks, introducing people to a cause that connects with their heart, bringing hope and encouragement to our communities as we seek together to serve as Christ served.
Welcome to Partners in Ministry. My name is Dan Smith, and today I'll be talking with Kimberly Kemp, the founder and director of Safe Care Learning Center in Waterloo, Iowa. In this interview, we're going to learn about Kimberly and what God has put on her heart for the Safe Care Learning Center, discover what needs the center is meeting in Waterloo, and explore the ways that we can support the ministry. Welcome, Kimberly, and thank you for joining me.
Hi, thank you, Dan, for having me.
Great. Well, tell us a little bit about Kimberly Kemp. Who are you and what has God used to bring you to where you are today?
Well, a little bit about me. Well, I'm born and raised in Waterloo, Iowa. I grew up with my siblings, all girls, no boys, and my parents. They did a good job. They did a really good job, but of course, the struggle was real. But we definitely bonded together as a family, and through the hardship of housing, transportation, financial education, you name it. But I was not determined to stay that way. And so I just kept thinking, even as a young kid, it's got to be a better way, a better solution. And so I did leave home pretty early, and having children early, my own self, left me in a situation to where I got to create some goals. I got to get this thing called life right. But I met Bridge of Hope, and I believe that was our family's bridge to hope.
Mm.
And the ministry, meeting Bridge of Hope and their whole ministry, it was nothing but pure love. But that is the key piece to help turn my mindset to God, and to seek God to get the help that I really needed. Like the situation of housing and transportation. Now that cycle just kept going, because now I too am a young parent and in the same scenarios as my parents growing up. So my bridge to hope kind of came from Bridge of Hope.
That's awesome. Awesome. At what point in time did God start stirring up in you the idea of this Safe Care Learning Center, this daycare? How did that come to be?
Well, it was literally, I was terminated from my job. I just was working at McDonald's, and the very next day, Bridge of Hope had a outing at the park, and me in a dump decision, like I'm not gonna do anything. I just lost my job. I was able to go to the community event at the park, and just um, being connected to the ministry did a lot for me, because I was at home now and I didn't have a job, and my neighbor just had lots of children that come through, and I'm just concerned, like I'm never home because I'm always at work. But I had the joy to see the beauty of her gift and what she was doing, and I'm just like, well, I can do that too. So it was then when I entertained the idea of doing childcare. But it was when my sister needed help with her children, and how we just provided that in our home. Just regular family to family, showing love. And I told her that you can go ahead and use us. You can use us so you can gain. And her being a single mom of 5 children was pretty rough for her. And
Sure.
so she did that. She just used us while she went to work and school. There was no monumental value behind it. It was just the love from the heart. And so for 2 years, we did that. And I said, well, God, it's a struggle. What can I do to help myself while I'm helping everyone else? And it was this still small voice. And God said, well, you're already doing it.
Mm.
Mm. And that was the gift of providing care for the children. That's what we were doing for 2 years with no money attached, free of charge. And so that part right there, when I heard that still voice, it was enough for me to search and go digging and seeing what was God really saying. And that is how Safe Care Childcare was born in our personal home.
Okay. So it sounds like, and I know we hear this all the time from the pulpit. We'll read about it. We'll see it on social media how God turns what's apparently is going to be a real negative into a huge positive. In this case, you losing your job was one of the best things that ever happened to you at McDonald's, because had that not happened, you wouldn't have been home to see the need around you, 4 kids. Had your sister not had that need and for you to be there, you wouldn't have been able to respond to that. And in that process, God goes, this is what I want you to do. And you're going, that's cool. I think I could do this. So that gives birth to the idea of Safe Care Learning Center. So technically, how did the actual Learning Center start? Give us a little breakdown in terms of how it started and where you are today.
Absolutely. So just learning about what we could do in order to make this safe care in the home work. Immediately, me and my husband got to work 24 hours after the idea came to pass. We were calling licensing out in our home because he had painted, he had built steps. And so that process was in the home. We did that. We got approved, and the need for the service that we were providing, which was 24-hour childcare in the home, it just grew. People got word. They wanted support. They needed flexibility, and they got word that I know somebody named Kim and Tim who can do that. And I'm like, wow, all of these people needing the flexibility. That was the key piece, because the 8 to 4, 9 to 5, a lot of people in the communities that I live in, they don't get the glory of picking and choosing their 9 to 5 or 8 to 4 jobs. So Safe Care Learning Center was born right there in the home with the hope to get to the center. And so we just created the actual format for the business at Safe Care Learning Center right in the home. We had a situation to where we had a fire in our personal home.
Mm.
So that was August of 2014, and we could not do childcare at the home anymore. So we were displaced. And during our 45 to 60-day displacement, we had to figure some things out. And so the first 2 days, we took the kids on a field trip to the hotel. After that, we couldn't do a field trip in the hotel anymore. And our parents were patient. But by day 3, my son had a rental home that he was renting, and it was real clear and plain. We moved from our personal home to another childcare home, just leasing, just for we can continue to move forward with serving the families that so depended on our service. And it just kept growing. People kept wanting to get that flexibility. And so we got 2 daycare homes right across the street from each other. And by golly, I tell you, it was a release in the press, and they said Quakerdale was closing. I reached out to Pastor Kevin over at Bridge of Hope, and I said, if you have any connections through the ministries and the partnerships that we've had with the Quakerdale over the couple of years, I would like to have those where I can place a call to see if it's possible that we could maybe get in a place like this to continue to serve our families and our children. And I got your name, and I got Rob Talbert's name.
Right.
And I placed one phone call, and I was so grateful that the time spent to make sure that what it is that I was seeking was heard. God said, if you seek, you shall find. And Rob met with me, and the rest is history. It was just such a blessing that I was able to run across good people to listen to the cares and the concerns of our community's needs. And so that is how Safe Care Learning Center came about.
Sure. So you lose your job. you end up helping your sister, then a fire that moves you to another home across the street. You hear about the closing of our programs at our Waterloo campus for Quakerdale. Those are open, and you start there. So, I mean, these are some pretty amazing things. There can only really be one person that's in charge of this, and that's not you and me.
Not at all.
Yeah, that is so awesome. So I remember when you first started, I want to think, didn't you start with just one of our cottages? Because we have several different buildings. Didn't you start with one? And what do you remember what year that was?
Absolutely. It was exactly November the 7th, 2016, when we were actually open and operable for children to come in and be cared for in one of the buildings, the Slife building. Literally June of 2018, we had been granted opportunity by the grace of God to have two of the cottages to provide after school care at the second one. The first location, that's the 24-hour, 6-day-a-week facility that we do care in.
Okay, great. So now you're up to, so roughly how many kids or families are you serving on a daily basis, do you think?
Oh, we serve at least between 90 to 100 and
Wow.
110 children daily.
Wow. And this
That
is
is,
24-hour as well as after school.
yes, sir.
24-hour daycare is a very unusual thing. You don't see that very often. That's
No.
yeah. Well, that is awesome. What needs then, as you look at the parents and then you look at the kids? Let's talk about the parents first. What needs is Safe Care Learning Center doing to help support parents parenting?
Oh boy. Absolutely. So there's so many needs that our parents need in order to do their job as parents, and the support that they get is real. They get the flexibility first and foremost.
Mm,
Everything doesn't go the way that we ordain it or plan it, but we provide transportation for the kiddos to go to school.
really?
That is big. That is real big because when COVID hit, they kind of dismingled our transportation system for school age children. And we had parents that just were, depending on their kids to get to school on their own. No, we make sure that the kids get to school before and after school with transportation, and the flexibility of non-traditional hours. That is huge. We have a huge need for the 24-hour childcare, the second and the third shift. We provide um, supper for the children. We provide all the three meals and all three snacks. So families are able to, at the end of the week, even receive extra snacks and food for their children. I mean, we know who need and who don't need, especially when we're part of their family. We're just an extended part of their family. The one-on-one that parents get through walking through the door and saying, "Hey, I need prayer." Oh,
Mm,
we're going straight to the laundry room. That's where our prayer room is. But that is
appropriate.
the room. Absolutely. That is the room where we can definitely bring in our parents, and they sometimes just need a hug. They just need somebody to listen to them, to encourage them, and let them know that, hey, you got a support team over here with Safe Care Learning Center and all of our staff. And so it's just not about the children. It's a family as a whole. And so if we're not in tune to the family, it's challenging just to be in tune to the children because they're whole. And that's how we roll with Safe Care.
Sure. Well, it really sounds to me then that what you're doing is from a parent's perspective is you're supporting them in such a way that you're actually doing life together. So they come up where their job is shifted, that they need to have childcare throughout the late night, early morning, but they don't have time to get their kids to the school. You're taking the kids to the school, which is huge, and trying to line that up. So where normally they'd have to try to get 2-3 people lined up to try to do something, and then they move to a different shift, no problem, because you're there to support it anyway. That's got to be huge for them, just to take a stress off of life for them.
It is. And our parents, I say we do have a good 15% of our parents. We have about 50 to 55 different families. And so at least 15% of them, Dan, they're working two jobs. They're
Wow.
working jobs. And so they need that extended care. And sometimes children are at the center for 16, 17-hour days.
Sure. Now, as far as the financial part of it's concerned, are parents paying 100% of what it costs to take care of the kids? Is there sliding fees? Are there grants? I mean, how are you supported financially?
We definitely support a parent's goal to increase their finances by all means necessary through work and career goals. So we do have child care assistance, which is a federally funded program that low income families and people with under the amount of eligibility can be covered for child care expenses, either 100% or they could have a copay sliding fee. So the majority of our families do get eligibility approval for child care assistance. And to ensure that they are able to do that, we help them with that process as well from
Sure.
the beginning to the end. And so what normally takes 30 days for our state offices to process, if they come to Safe Care to get the help, it only takes generally between 3 to 5 days for approval.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's a big difference.
that is a big difference, but that is the key in order to get our parents moving faster.
Sure. Sure.
Child care is very, very, very expensive. And we rely 99% on state funding to help fund the services that we need and supplies that we need to care for our children.
Sure. That is awesome. Um, if we wanted to stay informed in terms of what's happening with safe care and what's going on, what's the best way for us to do that to keep up with what you're doing?
Well, we definitely have the social media presence, and it's increasing, and I do know that is the way of easier connection for our families, our partners, our community, and everyone involved in order to see what we got going on. Currently, there's a major shortage in childcare over here in what's considered a childcare desert in Waterloo, Iowa, and surrounding communities. But we have the need, since we have roughly about a waiting list current as of the beginning of September, it was roughly about 80 to 85 children
Wow.
that needing care with the preschools and the early child or the early head start shortages. It's just rough. So we are currently looking to do the in-home preschool, in-house preschool setting for our children, as well as our infants and toddlers, which is the biggest need for our community's childcare needs. So we have that social media present. You can find us on Facebook. Um, we have a website, www.safecareforkids.center. And we have lots of community events that we do host. And like I said, we do that all in house and we rarely share because we so busy with our hands and our feet right on the spot for where our parents need us and we meet them right there. But we do need to make sure that we are updating and sharing with our friends and families about what we got going on. So look for that to come in
Sure.
soon.
That's great. If I'm a church or I'm an individual and God has put on my heart to want to support the work that you're doing, what are some ways that I can do that? How can we come alongside and help you help families in Waterloo?
Oh, that's a good question. There's many ways that we can do that. The need for we have the need for our families needing counseling. We definitely have that need as COVID-19 has done a number on our world. We have families and children that are affected, that need that part of service. So having counseling available is great. We do have needs of classroom material. The kids, they run through, as they utilize the learning materials, we definitely replenish those, so we can make sure they're age appropriate and safe for the children. We have lots of ways that people can come and volunteer. We have volunteerism, that is something simple as reading to the children, encouraging them to do their best. We have volunteers that come to do that. That's a major support as well. Currently, we are working with AEA 267, and that is the organization that helps the children and families in need of delays or special developments that they would need to enhance their early learning environment. So we have lots of ways that we could bond together in order to help our children and families of our communities.
Well, that's great that the AEA recognizes you as an important learning center for the children, because I know my wife uses them all the time as a third grade classroom teacher here in Appleton. So that's a wonderful resource. So, well, Kimberly, just thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you for giving us some insight in terms of who you are and what God's doing with you. Thank you for your commitment to the Waterloo, Iowa area through the Safe Care Learning Center. I can't wait to get an update in a couple months and continue to see what God's doing through you. So thank you for joining me.
All right. Thank you, Dan, so much for having me.
Hey,
Bye-bye.
If you've got any questions for Kimberly, or if you're interested in learning more about the Safe Care Learning Center, or you'd like to volunteer, you can see their contact information right here on the screen, or you can find it in the show notes for this episode on our website, or you can find it in the description of this YouTube video. So once again, thank you, Kimberly, for joining me, and thank you for joining me today. Until next time, let's get out there and serve as Christ serves.
This has been a presentation of Partners in Ministry, a podcast of Josiah White's Quakerdale Foundation. To learn more and see the show notes for this and other episodes, visit our website. To stay informed of up and coming broadcasts, subscribe to our e-newsletter. To invest in our mission, donate today.